Dunbar from speechmodification.com, and this is my Smart American Accent Training. Welcome to our live Saturday question and answer class. We're meeting at a slightly early time today, so I hope you can join me. At the start of class, we always talk about a topic for fluent speaking, American English pronunciation, your recent requests, or more. You can also put your questions in the chat at any time or in the comments if you're watching this later on as a replay, and I'll answer your questions for you as well. So this morning I want to talk about a combination of sounds when we have the a, as in black cat, plus the the L sound at the ends of words or in the middle of words. Oftentimes when we have the combination of letters AL or ALL, we'll have the aw sound, like in all or tall or small. We'll talk about that as well, but we're going to focus primarily on the a plus sounds. It's not a super common combination of sounds. So there are some words that end in AL or ALL that say Al. There's a man's name, Al. If you're familiar with that name, Al, that's going to be helpful for you with these words. But for many people, when they see AL, they think of this all combination, which is the rounded vowel. So that makes it a little bit tricky. So one thing I like to think about is the a is in words like cat and black, and you can use those words to help you when it comes to words that have this a plus the L sound. I would say the reason why this happens is in words like alley, tally, valley, or rally. These are really happening kind of like the a sound is happening, it's stressed, and then the li sound is another syllable. So thinking of alley, I would think about that like alley. So the break really is between the a and the ul. So it's not really like al, e. We do run it together. I have to move from a to ul to e, alley, alley. It all connects. But I think that's why these words have this a sound rather than the a sound, because in all, tall, small, we can't separate those out. It's all one syllable, and the a and the ul go together and are combined. In these, alley, tally, valley, rally, you can hear how they're not connected, at least in these words. So these are all spelled, notice, with two L's, but they have the a sound. So I think that's why they have the a sound, even though they're spelled with two L's. Most of the time, a plus two L's is going to give you this all combination. So spelling, of course, is inconsistent in American English, but this is a pattern you can look for if you're wondering about the sound. So even though we have tall, we have tally. It's not tall E, but rather tally. So thinking about that, a way to be able to say these and use that a vowel is to say another word that starts with that a sound. So for example, I could say rat, rally. So thinking about matching that ra in rat and the ra in rally. Or vat or van, for example, van, valley. So you're trying to just match and feel consistent between that a vowel. I also always like to use some anchor words. So for example, I could say back alley, black alley, also just some words like that or at. I'm at the alley, that tally, that rally. All those things can help you match that sound. We do also have, when we have a plus a single letter L, there's some examples here, again, where we have that a sound. So the name Al, the word gal, the word pal, these all have that a and ul combination as well. An exception is shall in American English, also shallow. We have that a sound as well. In British English, it might be a little bit more like shawl. So it might go more with these categories, or they might use the their British ah sound, which is a sound we don't have in American English. So not 100% consistent. You can't count on spelling. Most of the time in most common words, you'll hear this all vowel. These are some exceptions where you have the al sound. Learning the symbols and being able to look up words in the dictionary is really helpful so you know what letter says what sound. Just briefly, let's talk about the ah sounds. So this one, I think about it like AW as in law. So you can think about matching the law for all. It does sound a little different when I say all versus law. When I say law, I'm just open. I can stay rounded. When I'm doing all, I lift and glide into that ol sound. So this all and this all are the same. You might think about it as having that same vowel, but working on being able to do all with that dark L is a good practice for these words. I do have a video talking about words like all, tall, small, that ah vowel, that dark L, and you can check that out to help you in more detail with that. But I just wanted to include those words as a contrast to our al words, just because I think the spelling can be a little bit confusing and challenging here. So feel free to ask questions about this topic, or of course your questions about pronunciation of words, fluent speaking, intonation, whatever can help you improve overall in your pronunciation and use of English. Feel free to leave those in the comments and in the chat, and I'll turn to those now. So we have a question about the word granted. So granted, don't take it for granted. He granted her wish. Here again, we have the letter A saying that a vowel, just like we had in alley and tally. This is an example of a past tense verb with the letters ed, where because the verb grant, to grant, ends in a T, we're going to add a syllable, granted, granted. Sometimes in words like needed or something else with a T, we would use a true T. In needed, we use a D. But here in granted, we're going to either use a true T, so it'll sound like granted, where we let that T out, granted. Or sometimes when words have NT in American English in the middle, we will drop that T. So some people might say, take it for granted, granted. That is an acceptable pronunciation. I think it's a little clearer to use the T in this particular word, granted. It's more common to use that, leave that T out in words like internet, where we don't always say internet, although we can say either. This is definitely very common, internet, international. In granted, granted happens, take it for granted, but I think it's also very common to use the T in this case. So yes, thank you for that word. That's a useful word. It has a couple of different patterns that make it a little bit challenging, so I can see why you would ask about that. Welcome everyone. It's nice to see so many of you here this morning at our early time. We have a question about the word indigo. Indigo children. So whether or not it means smart. I'm not familiar with that. Like WizKid. So indigo. I would have to look that up to see. I haven't heard of that meaning. There is a group called the Indigo Girls, a singing group, but I think that just is referring to the color as well. So in indigo, we stress on the in syllable, indigo, and then we have letter I saying the lax I sound, and then in the word we have the go, just like in the word go, indigo. Yeah, good question. I can look that up later and let you know if I find any interesting answers about it. Feel free to leave questions and comments about excuse me, I'm just moderating the comments here a little bit. So I'm going to turn to some of your recent requests and questions. If you have a question here in the live class, feel free to let me know. We had a viewer recently ask about the word aspiration. So in aspiration, we have the typical pattern, which is that anytime we have shun at the end of a word, like in nation, communication, etc., we stress on the syllable before the shun. So the A is the clear vowel that's stressed. We do, in 4-syllable words like this, sometimes have secondary stress before the first syllable. So in some words that start with A that's not stressed, that would be an vowel, like aspire. So I aspire to have an aspiration. In this case, spire is stressed, and we only have 2 syllables, so this is completely unstressed, and it's a schwa sound. Sounds like a spire. I would write it like this, aspire. I'll just write spire the same way it's spelled, but it's the I diphthong. So the difference here, aspire, is that we're completely unstressed for this A. In aspiration, we have some secondary stress on the A, which means it's going to be our A vowel, like we were talking about in valley and gal. So aspiration. So I would write that like a or aspiration. So it's my aspiration to teach you to pronounce that word. Yes, and we have, I am working my way through many requests, so there are probably over 500 requests that have come in on various videos. Please be patient for your word, and you can always attend the live class and ask on Saturdays, and I can address your question right away. I am trying to send you resources and to give you a brief description in a comment about your word if I haven't covered it yet, and I am continuing to work my way through that list of requests. Okay, we have a question about archipelago. So for archipelago, we have the stresses on the third to last syllable. The letters AR say R. The letters CH say the K sound, arc. We have an I or an here, very short reduced vowel. And then our letter E is the stressed syllable, so it's going to be a clear S sound. And then again, we have another unstressed sound there, and an O clear vowel at the end. So it sounds like archipelago. Archipelago. Yeah, so it's a little bit strange spelling. We do have the CH as K in several words and names, also in archaeology, etc. So it's not a totally uncommon combination for CH to say the K instead of the Ch sound. Good word. Thank you for that request. Okay. We have a question about the letters OO in the word book. So I have a number of videos about letters OO. Of course, most common is that they say the oo sound, like in food or school, but there are a number of common words in which the letters OO say the sound, like in push or pull. And so for a word like book, what you want for this vowel is not to be tense and round. So if I'm doing a word like food, ooh, I'm really pursing my lips and I have that clear tense ooh sound. For the my tongue is a little bit lower and my lips are not as pursed. They're still rounded when I say book, but they're not very pursed and tense. So using another word like push or pull Or I like the words should and could. That can help you to match, because if I'm saying should I get a book, I can really hear and match those two vowel sounds. So you're looking for information on this vowel, which we spell with U, OU, and sometimes with OO, like in good, look, should, and a few other words with OO have that. Yeah, it can be a little bit tricky. So do check out my videos for the vowel and also for the different ways we pronounce letters OO to be helpful. And you can get more details on this sound and all of the sounds of English in our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. It's a great way to translate between vowel spelling and vowel sounds, as well as all of the consonant sounds of English. And to just become aware of what accent error patterns you may have because of spelling or because of your native language. So yes, that's definitely a useful and important word book to understand that vowel. Okay, we have a question about the phrase working my way through and what it means. So I might say I'm working my way through the entire Harry Potter movie series. I'm working my way through this meal. It basically means progressing through or going slowly through. We use it for something we're consuming usually. Like I'm working my way through finishing the contents of the refrigerator. That would be eating, consuming. Or I'm working my way through a TV series or a book series. Means I'm trying to do complete it all. Often with consuming. We could use it for working as well. I'm working my way through these documents, so I have to do some work on them, but that's basically what it means. Good question, thank you. All right, we have a question about how to pronounce Wikipedia and encyclopedia. So they both have pedia at the end. Encyclopedia. They're both stressed on the P of pedia. So for Wikipedia, we have the I vowel, wiki. I would say we can do wiki or wicca. We're very short and unstressed on the second letter I, and then stressed on the P, D, So it sounds like wick, P, D, Wikipedia. Sometimes if we're talking just about a wiki, then we change just to an E here, so it sounds like wick, E. Like if we say WikiLeaks, wiki or WikiLeaks, yeah, WikiLeaks. If we're just saying it's a wiki, then the I changes to an E. But in Wikipedia, we have an I sound here or an sound because that's a reduced, not clear vowel, Wikipedia. And then encyclopedia, this F gets changed more to an I again because this is an unstressed syllable. We have secondary stress on the psi syllable, so letter Y says the I diphthong. And then this second letter C says a K, first letter C says a S. Actually, we don't use an O there. So not encyclopedia, but because the O is a reduced vowel again, so encycla. And then stress on the P, D, same ending as the second one. So it sounds like encycla. I'll use a K here. P, D, All right, so for a long word like encyclopedia, a couple of different techniques can help. One is starting on the stressed syllable and then adding the other syllables back, like pedia, encyclopedia. The other is going slowly, syllable by syllable, but try to keep the rhythm the same so you're going faster on the unstressed syllables and stretching a little bit more on the stressed syllables. That sounds like encyclopedia, encyclopedia. And then for challenging words like this, longer words, do try practicing them by themselves until you feel comfortable, and then use them in some short phrases. Like, I looked at Wikipedia for that information. Wikipedia is an online user-contributed encyclopedia. So as you feel like you're mastering the word, you want to try it in short phrases so that when you want to go to use it in conversation, it comes out naturally and fluently. Sometimes we practice the word and we master it, then we go to speak and we still stumble, it still comes out the old way, or we have a challenge like actually using that word. If you practice it in short phrases and sentences, you'll feel more confident and you'll be more likely to be able to pronounce it correctly when you want to use it in real conversation. Okay, great words. Thank you so much. We have a question about Caesarean section and Julius Caesar. So for Caesarean, I think it's spelled the same as Caesar. I'm not sure. Maybe you've spelled it with this way, Caesarean. Anyway, I'll spell it the way you've spelled it. I'm not confident on the spelling. I think it might be actually like that. Caesarean. Maybe it's Caesarean. I'll look that up later. But the pronunciation is Caesarean with stressing on the second syllable cer. So it sounds like Caesarean. So they performed a Caesarean section. We often also just say C-section. So we just use the letter name as a shortening. If we're talking about Julius Caesar, Caesar is pronounced Caesar, and Julius is Julius. So Julius Caesar. So yeah, the kind of unusual spelling from the Roman Italian, and we say it as Caesar in American English. So Caesar becomes Caesarean because we have a different syllable stress. So we lose that clear C of the first syllable, and we have stress. The zer becomes a zer. So when we're stressing on S-A-R, it's a Caesarean, we use a C there, an S sound there. Then we have the clear air because it's stressed, and when it's unstressed, it's just an Same thing with this is an unstressed S, and this is a stressed C. So syllable stress really makes a difference in how we pronounce different vowel sounds. We tend to have a clear vowel in the stressed syllable and reduced vowels in the unstressed syllables. So that's true with a lot of words where we have not just names and adjectives from names, but nouns and adjectives or nouns and verbs change the vowel sounds and the syllable stress. Okay, wonderful. We have a question about return. So the pronunciation of return is stressed on turn, and this is pronounced the same as the word turn with the vowel. Because the RE is unstressed, like we were just talking about, we have the I sound there. So rather than return, we say return. So thinking about it like an I, and then you want your stress on the sound or the turn syllable, return. If you say return with a little more of an E sound, it doesn't matter. I just don't want to be even and very clear. I don't want return, like I'm turning again, but rather return. So thinking about this as being sort of short, reducing the vowel a little bit, return. I do have a video and several lessons talking about words that start with RE and the different sounds that those can make. So you can check that out here on the channel or also on our website, speechmodification.com, in our online courses and free materials there. Thank you. That's a good question. Okay, wonderful to see so many of you here today. Thank you for a great class, for your wonderful questions. I will be back again next Saturday at our usual time, so we were a little bit early this morning. My apologies if you're coming at the usual time and seeing this as a replay, but you can put your questions in the chat and I will get back to you with answers. I will also see you next week. I'll be back tomorrow with our special Sunday lesson. On Wednesday, we'll have our word of the day, word of the week, and Friday we'll have our Fluency Friday. Thank you so much. Oh, I'll take your additional question. So we have a question about, oh, you retracted it. So if you want to leave that in a comment, I'll get back to you and help you with an answer for your question. Thanks, everyone. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Thanks for a great class.